Look at this story. Diego was in a restaurant having his coffee as he always did. But he doesn't realize what's about to happen. Larissa, one of the employees, notices that Diego is distracted and that his cell phone is in his coat pocket. Clearing the tables and leaves quickly. Diego then finishes his coffee and gets up to leave. He takes his coat and goes to get his cell phone when he realizes that his cell phone is gone. Larissa takes it and comes to Diego and says, "What's going on, sir?" Diego, very upset, says, "My cell phone disappeared from my coat pocket and someone here took it because when I got here my cell phone was in my pocket." Larissa says, "Calm down, sir, there must be some mistake going on here, but don't worry, you won't leave here without your cell phone. If you brought it in here we'll find it." Diego says, "Call your manager to resolve this situation." Larissa says, "Let's do this, sir. Give me your cell phone number and I'll call and see if he'll call and where he'll ring." Diego then says, "Okay," and starts passing his number to Larissa. Larissa then says the number and calls Diego's cell phone. At that exact moment, the cell phone starts ringing in Alice's pocket and everyone looks at her. Alice puts her hand in her pocket and realizes that the man's cell phone is there with her. Without understanding anything, she keeps looking at them. Diego soon offends her. He says, "Her thief," and pushes Alice. Alice speaks, "Sir, I didn't do that. I would never take anything from any customer here." Larissa immediately says, "How can you be so cynical, Alice? The cell phone was in your pocket. How did you have the courage to steal one of our best customers here?" I arrive very upset and say, "I want to talk to the manager right now." Larissa says, "Calm down, sir. I'm going to call Mr. Carlos, who is our point manager, and Larissa will call Carlos." Alice stands there trying to explain the situation to Diego. She says, "Sir, I didn't do anything. There must have been some mistake. I would never steal from a customer." Diego, very upset speech, "Shut up, I have nothing to talk to you from now on. I'll talk to your manager." At that moment, Carlos, the manager, arrives and says, "What is happening here?" Diego soon says, "This employee of yours just stole my cell phone." Carlos says, "What do you mean, sir? Do you have proof that Alice stole your cell phone?" Diego says, "Yes, I do. Your other employee there witnessed the scene." Carlos looks at Alice and says, "I don't believe that, Alice. How could you do that to a customer?" Alice, very desperate with this whole situation, says, "Boss, I don't know how to explain how this cell phone ended up in my pocket, but it wasn't me. I didn't take his cell phone." At that moment, Carlos says, "Well, since we have a camera here, I'm going to check what really happened." Larissa says, "Sir, but the phone rang inside Alice's pocket. You don't even need to look at the cameras. I saw it and Mr. Diego saw it too." At that moment, Carlos says, "I'm going to check the cameras to be sure." Larissa quickly, as she has access to the cameras, runs there and deletes all the images. And when Carlos goes to check the images, he notices that the images are all dark. Carlos says, "That's strange, the cameras are all locked, the images are not opening, but anyway, I don't want to take your time, Sir Diego, I'm sorry for what happened." He looks at Alice and says, "But unfortunately, Alice, with the client's testimony and the evidence he has, I'm going to have to take a very drastic attitude with you because this is not tolerable here, so you're fired." Carlos says to Alice, "You can go in there, get your things, and leave my establishment, because that's not acceptable. Look at this one." He looks at Diego. His client says, "I'm sorry again, sir, for what happened, and as a way of apologizing for what happened here, I'll give you a courtesy. If you want to stay and enjoy it, you're at ease." Alice over there tries to explain herself and says, "Please, Mr. Carlos, you have to believe me. I didn't steal anything. I didn't take anything from that gentleman." Carlos says, "Sorry Alice, but the customer is always right. Point. He has proof and claims it was you, so Alice, please, without further inconvenience, you are fired. Get out of here right now." At that moment, another client who was there and saw the whole scene and the injustice that was happening calls for Carlos. She says, "Sir, please?" "Sir?" Carlos says, "Just a moment ma'am, I'll be right there." Carlos then goes to the client and says, "Why not ma'am, what can I help you with?" The client says, "Man, you must be the manager here. I'm witnessing all this confusion, and honestly, what you're doing to the employee is an injustice." Carlos says, "Ma'am, I understand, I respect your opinion, but the customer is claiming that our waitress took his cell phone, and as our camera system failed, and I have no way of proving otherwise, ma'am, I prefer to take the customer's word for it, so I had been firing her. Alice was a good employee, but I can't allow one of my employees to do that to customers." The customer then gets up and says, "Sir, I'm saying this because I have proof of what happened there. I was here having my lunch like every day I come to this place, and they are very well attended by Alice. When I saw what was damn it happened, I took my cell phone and recorded the whole scene, sir." The customer had his back to Alice, and neither he nor Alice really saw what happened. Carlos says, "If you have proof of what you are talking about and can prove everything that really happened, can you show me the pictures please?" So he takes his cell phone and says, "Yes, I recorded everything. Here are the images," and show Carlos what really happened. Carlos is outraged when he sees what really happened there. He says to the customers, "Thank you very much ma'am for what you're doing, and I'm sorry for all this inconvenience. You can rest assured that I'll correct the mistake I just made. I'll call Alice and apologize to her for all of this. But can you take these images and come with me so we can show the customer what really happened?" The client says, "Of course I'll go with you, because I don't like injustice either." Let's go there and show the client what really happened. Carlos, while going to the customer, finds Alice leaving very sad. He then says, "Alice, I need to talk to you." Alice speaks, "Sir, I'm on my way out and I apologize once again, but it wasn't me who committed that theft." Carlos speaks, "Don't worry Alice, let's clarify everything now. This client was there and saw the whole scene. She filmed the whole scene, and so we were able to prove her innocence. So I want to apologize for having questioned your honesty. You were always an excellent employee, but I ask you to see my side too, because I will always have to value the customer's word. If I don't have proof, I apologize for all this to you, Alice. And I really want you to stay here working with me." Alice speaks, "That's good, sir." Carlos, that you can see the whole truth. She looks at the customer and thanks her for everything she has done. And he says, "Yes, I do accept your apologies. I understand your side. I know well that the evidence was against me, and I will continue working here." Carlos says, "Just one more favor, Alice, that you keep leaving as if you were leaving, so Larissa doesn't imagine that I found out the whole truth, because she helps is very bad faith with you, and now I'm going to embarrass her in front of the client, because what she did was very wrong. She accused you of something you didn't do. Period." Alice speaks, "You can leave it, sir. I'll wait for you to act. You keep leaving as if you were leaving." Carlos then tells his client, "Can you lend me your cell phone so I can go to Diego and show him the whole truth?" The client says, "Surely Mr. Carlos is here. My cell phone, you can take him and go there and show him the truth of everything that happened." Carlos then takes the client's cell phone and goes to Diego. When he arrives at the customer, Diego, Larissa is there talking to the customer. Carlos says, "Excuse me sir." "Diego, I got a recording from a client who was following the whole incident with her cell phone, and I would like you to look at these images to prove what really happened with her cell phone." Carlos takes the client's cell phone, shows it to Diego, and says, "Look, sir, pictures don't lie." Diego picks up his cell phone and looks at the images. He looks seriously at Larissa. Missa looks and sees that everything she did is actually recorded there. She soon tries to justify herself and says, "That's a lie, sir." Diego says, "There's no way you can justify this from here, Larissa." Larissa tries to justify herself. Carlos then says, "Larissa, you are fired." Very angry, Larissa takes it and leaves. Carlos then calls for Alice. Diego says, "Well, Alice, I have to apologize for having accused you unfairly." Alice speaks, "Truth has all been revealed."